You know, I really wish people would quit saying that police officers are behaving like soldiers. They're behaving like soldiers. They're behaving just like soldiers in the military. That's not true. We're held to a much higher standard. If they were held to the standards of a soldier, they wouldn't be so horrible in America right now. So let's get into a video from a combat veteran and former law enforcement officer explaining why so many combat veterans have an issue with police officers. Like button, hit share button. Make sure you let people know that this channel exists. Without your support, I don't exist. Anyways, let's get into the video. So first things first, I remember a comedy special from Dave Chappelle known as 846, and he said something in that special that I thought was interesting. He said that many black combat veterans consider the police to be domestic terrorists. And the one thing that I'm going to say about that special is he was absolutely right. There was a shooting in Dallas known as the shooting done by Michael Xavier Johnson. He was a combat veteran, a black combat veteran who killed 5 police officers in Dallas, Texas. And I remember before the media had even called it, I called it. I knew at the time that it had to be a combat veteran just by the way the reports were sounding, some of the background research that I already did that the media didn't want to do apparently, at least at that time, and other factors that just told me that this guy just screamed military. And at the time I had also heard unconfirmed rumors that there were going to be retaliatory attacks for the Alton Sterling killing and Philando Castile killing. And I want to explain to people the reason why Afghan war veterans in particular have an issue with police officers in America. You see, while we were deployed in Kandahar, Afghanistan, I know for a fact that I served with people who were in the Afghan National Police, and they were so corrupt. We served with them so much that it leaves an impression about you when it comes to police in general. In fact, I remember talking with some MPs about this, whereas you saw service members starting to get a little bit more aggressive with MPs because of this. And I'm telling you, it is well known that Afghanistan has some corrupt police, so we have to serve with those people, you know, for months, sometimes years. Let me tell you, it leaves an impression on you. And it's not just that. It's when you serve your country and you know that you are held to a certain standard and you come back and you see police officers behaving in a certain way, it does something to you psychologically. It makes you think, okay, when I come back, you know, you have some guys who are so laser focused on being a soldier that they don't know how to hang up the freaking boots, right? So when they come back, if they haven't not gotten the PTSD treatment, the problem is they're going to start looking for enemies, and they're going to start looking for enemies who do things that are similar to terrorists. Well, the problem is that when police officers start doing silly stuff, tossing flashbang grenades into babies' cribs, pushing down old men during protests, killing Alton Sterling and start killing Philando Castile for no reason and nothing happens to them, I'm going to tell you that makes certain combat veterans who have not gotten PTSD treatment, it makes them snap. They have this need and this want to serve the American people, and they want to eliminate terrorism because it's drilled into your head. So when you see acts of terror, just like Dave Chappelle said, you know, people like Michael Xavier Johnson, people like Chris Dorner, I mean, the list goes on and on, and on. When you start looking at these people and looking at the reasons why they were doing it, it just seems to me, it just seems apparent to me. And because again, I am a black combat veteran, and I have to put myself into their minds just for a second, and I can tell you that's the conclusion that I would reach. Now, would I do what they did? Of course not. I haven't done it yet, have I? But the thing is that I get the reason why they did it. I'm not saying that it was right, but I get the reason why. I get the reason why that happens. And it's so strange that people don't understand that some combat veterans who happen to be black would feel this way when we've literally had domestic terrorism happen. One of the worst acts of domestic terrorism in American history happened literally as a response to law enforcement. Like, for example, if you look at Terry Nichols and Timothy McVeigh during the Oklahoma bombing, the reason why that happened, it was a response to the 1992 FBI standoff with Randy Reaver at Ruby Ridge, and also the siege at Waco, and also the Waco siege in 1993, which was a 51-day standoff that ended in more than 70 deaths by burning. I don't agree with much of anything that a white supremacist such as Timothy McVeigh or Terry Nichols has to say, but I can agree that what happened to Randy Reaver and what happened at Waco was nonsense. And if you can see where these two had instigated one of the worst acts of terrorism in American history. I mean, before 9/11, it was the deadliest terrorist attack in American history. And Timothy McVeigh even timed his attack based on the second anniversary of the day that those people died in that fire in Waco, to symbolize he was upset with law enforcement over what happened. So if a white supremacist is doing this, what do you think happens when you have black combat veterans who already, there's a culture within the black community of a deep distrust of police because of the history of the police being the slave patrol? When you combine that with a long-standing deployment or multiple deployments with police officers who have been called pedophiles, who have been known to shoot our soldiers. For example, there was a lot of blue on green violence that was going on for a long time. So you have soldiers who have hypervigilance as a response to that blue on green violence that was going on in Afghanistan for a good little minute. And I mean, I'm pretty sure it's probably still going on. Do you understand what kind of environment you've just created? You know, when you look at people like Micah Xavier Johnson, it's not shocking then, because you understand the reason why Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols, you understand the reason why they did it. Their people don't have a history of the cops being a slave patrol. So what happens, what do you think happens when you compound a long-standing hundreds of years of distrust between black people and the police? You combine that with an environment in which you think that the police are the two worst things that you could possibly be, a pedophile or a murderer. Do you think that has a lasting effect when those soldiers come back over here? Soldiers, Marines, sailors, airmen, you name it. When they come back over here and they haven't had PTSD treatment and they're still in the mindset of them being downrange and they see a police officer behaving in a way that is very similar to the freaking Taliban, what do you think goes through their mind? Yes, we should up the PTSD treatment. We should definitely get these people help. But at the same time, maybe the police here shouldn't behave like damn Taliban. Because I got to tell you, I've met the Taliban and I've seen American police and I'm having a really fucking hard time telling the goddamn difference. I gotta be honest with you. I just gotta keep it a buck with you.